The New York Rangers need size, strength, toughness, and speed, and we're going to do our best to find all of those things on today's very special mock draft episode.
You're Locked on the New York Rangers, your daily podcast on the New York Rangers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, Blue Shirts fans, to episode number 1336 of the Locked On New York Rangers podcast. I'm your host, John Chick. Just want to thank you guys, as always, for making Locked On New York Rangers your first listen every day. We are free and available on all platforms, including YouTube, and we are, of course, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So this is the second time we're going to be doing this offseason, the second and final time to be exact. Going to go ahead, put on our collective Ranger GM hats here, and basically just go through the NHL draft round by round and make all the picks on behalf of the New York Rangers. Obviously, there's a lot of great players available in this year's draft. The Rangers have a decent amount of needs, and we're going to do our best to pick out some young players that we think can help this team in the short term and obviously the long term as well. And I wanted to do this early in the week because I get the feeling as this week progresses here, we're going to see the Rangers do something. There's going to be at least one significant move by the New York Rangers between now and the time of the draft. That could be, a move for somebody like J.J. Peterka. That could be a trade of K'Andre Miller. It could be both of those things in the same deal. We will see. But bottom line is I do think we're kind of in that calm before the storm period right now. And with that in mind, let's go ahead and do our second mock draft here. And of course, the Rangers do still need to decide what they want to do with the number 12 overall pick. They can either give it to Pittsburgh and hang on to their first round pick for next year, or they can hang on to this pick and give Pittsburgh their first rounder next year. For the purposes of this exercise, the Rangers have not given away that first round pick as of now, so we're not going to give it away either. And we're going to go ahead and use that pick in the first round here. And as far as guys that I like in the first round, here's a quick list to give you guys an idea of the players that I'm considering. The first one, who's at the top of my list, is going to be Roger McQueen. He is a forward. He is actually the player that we picked in the first round of our first mock draft about a week or two ago. Like him a lot. Also, defenseman Brady Martin, Brady Martin, who's a forward, Jack Nesbbit, who's a forward, Justin Carbonneau, who is a forward, Kayshawn Aitchison, a defenseman, Logan Hensler, a defenseman, and maybe Lyndon Lakovich. I don't have him quite at the same level as the guys I just mentioned there, but I like him enough to at least list him here. And obviously, we're not going to worry about the guys that are projected to go 1, 2, and 3 because they're not going to fall to the Rangers at number 12. But with no further ado, let's go ahead and kick this thing off. I want to go ahead and share our screen here, if I can bring that up. There we go. There's the mock draft screen for those of you watching on YouTube. And anybody on audio, don't worry, I'll talk you through the whole thing. But for anybody on YouTube, you can now see that we've got the draft all set up here. And with that all said, let's go ahead and start the NHL Draft 2025 and see how everything shakes out here. So, yeah, this is going pretty much the way you would expect it thus far. See, there's Roger McQueen at number 5. I was surprised I was able to get him at number 12 the most recent time. There's Brady Martin, another big-time favorite of mine. So that actually, he went at number 11 to the Penguins. Roger McQueen, like I said, went at number 5 to the Nashville Predators. So those are two of my favorites. But another one of my favorites is somebody that I think a lot of you like very much as well, and that's going to be Brady Martin. And I think that's probably who we're going to end up picking here. But I want to go ahead and pull up my notes on Martin, read a couple of scouting reports for you guys on Martin. We'll bring him up right now. So, yeah, Brady Martin, 18-year-old center. He has spent 2 seasons with the Sioux Greyhounds of the OHL, 6 feet tall, 174 pounds. So, first glance, obviously size is not going to jump out in any meaningful way. He's not one of the bigger players available in this year's draft, but that can be misleading. By all accounts, this kid is one of the hardest hitting prospects available in this year's draft, tends to play a lot bigger than his frame would certainly indicate, and his scoring really jumps off the page. Year 1 with the Greyhounds, he had 10 goals and 18 assists for a total of 28 points in 52 games, also a plus 12, and then 2 points in 11 playoff games. So not that impressive in the first year, but it's his first year there, so, we'll give him a break. Then he has a big jump in year 2. 33 goals, 39 assists for a total of 72 points in 57 games, and he was also a plus 25, and then another 2 goals and 2 assists in 5 playoff games. He also, and I'm big on this as well, dominated at World Juniors for Team Canada, 7 games, 3 goals, 8 assists, and was a plus 15. So he absolutely just lit it up there. There are 16 publications I have in front of me that, obviously rank Martin as far as where they think he's going to go. Some of them have him as high as number 6, or at least one does, and one has him as low as number 53. But 53 is a big-time outlier by Smart Scouting. The next lowest ranking is number 27. So other than Smart Scouting, all the rest of these 16 publications here all seem to have him going in the first round. I certainly think he'll go in the first round as well. Now, this website that we're using right now has him at number 17 overall. There's some other players that I like there. Logan Hensler, they have him at number 16. Justin Carbonneau, they have him at number 15. But we're going to go ahead and go with Brady Martin here. Want to keep talking about him, though, because this is our first-round pick, so this is important, and we have to make sure we get it right. Something else that's very nice to see is that he became an alternate captain for the first time this past season. He was an alternate with both the Greyhounds as well as for Canada's World Juniors team. So that gives you an idea that he's somebody that does have those leadership traits that the Rangers seem to be lacking. Certainly this last season, he's been praised for his leadership, so that's great to hear as well. And he plays like somebody that wants to lead by example. Just a high-energy player, relentless forechecker, very strong back checker as well. I mean, you run through all these qualifications, and I love this kid already, man. Like there was so much of that missing this past season for the Rangers. Just weak on the forecheck, weak on the back check, lazy on the back check. Didn't like that at all. Apparently, he's not the most mobile or technically sound player in this year's draft, but there does seem to be a belief among scouts that he makes up for that with his effort level, and that's great to hear as well. And he hits. He's not a giant like some of the other players that are going to be available in the first round here, but he throws the body as well or better than anybody in this draft class, and he can snipe. The Rangers right now lack a player that's truly that shoot-first guy. I mean, maybe Will Cooley a little bit, but I don't know. I mean, to me, there's nobody that's really like bombs away. Everything else fails. Let me just fire the puck at the net, and it does sound like Martin could be that guy. So leave you with a couple of scouting reports, and then we'll move on to round 2. This one comes to us from David Sod of Dauber Prospects. Few players go hard in the paint like Brady Martin. His competitiveness, intensity, and confidence pop off the screen with every shift. Nobody will question his effort, especially not with how physically he plays. He's a force in transition due to his raw strength, and he brings soft hands to go along with it. It's not uncommon to see Martin challenge a defender in the middle of the ice, just for Martin to immediately make a move into space to leverage his powerful shot. And then we've got one more here from Mike Kennedy of Future Considerations. Martin is a dynamic two-way center who rises to the occasion and has a significant impact on the outcome of games. His greatest attribute is perhaps his compete level and willingness to engage in battles. He is definitely what I would describe as a gamer and often comes away with the puck during possession battles. His compete level, coupled with his all-around attributes, really makes him stand out. So in conclusion here, going by the scouting reports and, every piece of information basically that I was able to find on Brady Martin, Martin is everything, or brings everything, that the Rangers currently do not have, or at the very least lack in some way. So we're going to go with Brady Martin. Let's go ahead and make it official. Like I said, wanted to take our time here on the first round pick, but we're taking Martin. He's the guy at number 12. And then Lyndon Lakovich, another guy I was looking at, went number 13 to the Detroit Red Wings. Looks like Carbonneau goes number 16 to the Canadiens. And Logan Hensler dropped all the way to 24. That's farther than I thought he would go, but a promising defenseman there, going number 24 to the Los Angeles Kings. And we'll let this simulator just take us right up to the second round here. There's Kayshawn Aitchison with the first pick of the second round by the San Jose Sharks. He was another favorite of mine, so unfortunate that he did not fall all the way to us. But in just a second, we're going to keep everything rolling here. Going to shift our attention to the second round. We're picking at number 43 overall here, and we got to go ahead and find another solid player for the New York Rangers. Hopefully we can do that, and we will take on that task in just a second. All right, we just want to take a minute to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by wonderful pistachios. Looking for a snack that is both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with wonderful pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they are packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It is the perfect grab and go snack for busy days. Whether I'm snacking at my desk, on a road trip, or whatever it might be, maybe you just need a protein boost. These are always a clutch go-to snack. The satisfying crack of opening each shell, it is like snack meditation. Whether you're running between meetings or dropping off the kids, Wonderful Pistachios are the snack that works just as hard as you do. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, let's go ahead and keep everything rolling here on this special mock draft edition of Locked On New York Rangers. Big shout out to the everydayers. As always, you're definitely going to want to stick around for the next couple of weeks here. We got the draft coming up. We got free agency coming up. The Rangers are said to be about as active as anybody right now, any other team, in terms of the wheelings and dealings that they might do between now and draft night. So obviously we're going to be right on top of all that good stuff throughout the coming days and weeks here. But for right now, let's go ahead and keep everything rolling as we look for somebody in round 2 of our mock draft here. And I think we're going to go ahead and go with Jack Nesbbit with our second round pick here at number 43 overall. If I'm being honest, the guy that I really, really like with this pick is Nathan Bem. According to this website, he is the number 41 ranked prospect. And again, we're picking at number 43 here. Bem, for me, might be my favorite second round target for the Rangers, but we picked him in the last mock draft that we did on here. We talked about him quite a bit. I want to shake things up a little bit, and I want to go ahead and go a little bit down the list here with Jack Nesbbit. There's a weird thing on this website. Once you get out of the top 64, everybody defaults to a ranking of 999. I'm not really sure why that's the case, but be that as it may, Nesbbit is going to be my pick here, most likely. We're going to go ahead and run through his credentials here. Nesbbit is an 18-year-old center for the Windsor Spitfires of the OHL. And I'm actually going to stop right there because for the second straight time, I was hoping to, between the Rangers' first 2 picks, take one forward and one defenseman. And for the second time in a row, it looks like we're going to go ahead and take 2 forwards. But Nesbbit, man, there's just too much here to like. And some of the defensemen that I really liked and was hoping would be available here in the second round are indeed not available. So with that in mind, we're just going to take the best player, the guy that to me at this point in the draft is probably my favorite guy remaining, other than Nathan Bem, because again, Bem, we took him in the last mock draft. So for this one, let's go ahead in the second round, take Jack Nesbbit, 18-year-old center for the Windsor Spitfires of the OHL, 6'4", 183 pounds, power forward all the way. Again, something that the Rangers are currently lacking. Said to be one of the fastest rising prospects in this year's draft. NHL.com has a mock draft article where 2 different writers make picks for every team in the first round. The article is somewhat new. One of the writers had him going at number 10. The other had him going actually to the Rangers at number 12. That would be Kimmelman. Adam Kimmelman has him going to the Rangers at number 12. And again, when you look at like older publications and older, mock draft articles, whatever it might be, you don't see him going all that high. I mean, even now, there seems to be some divisiveness as far as when he could go. There's certain people that seem to think he'll go somewhat early in the first round. And then there's some people, including this mock draft that we're doing right now, that believes he could slip all the way into the second round. If he's there in the second round, Jack Nesbbit for the Rangers, I think that's a player that they very much need to consider. He's gotten some buzz around him. Part of the reason was Game 7 performance that he had during the playoffs. The Spitfires were playing the Kitchener Rangers in the second round, and he was really sick going into this game, had a headache, a sore throat, a stomach ache, strep throat. I mean, you name it. Any symptom you can come up with, this kid pretty much had it. He ended up getting an assist on his team's only goal, but unfortunately they did lose that game in overtime. But the other reason that he's really gotten some attention recently is big jump this year from the season prior. Last year, which was his first with Windsor, 58 games, 9 goals, 9 assists, so just 18 points, was also a minus 32. None of those numbers are really going to get anybody's attention. But this year, I mean, you talk about a jump. 65 games, 25 goals, 39 assists, 64 points. So basically a point per game, also a plus 12, and another goal and 9 assists in 12 postseason games. My understanding is that the team around him got quite a bit better this past season, but obviously Nesbbit was able to take advantage of that. If there is anything that's a concern for Nesbbit, it sounds like it might be his skating. Also not the fastest player available in the draft, which Obviously, that goes somewhat hand in hand when it comes to skating, but there's a lot to like here as far as the pros. Very physical player, takes advantage of his size. There's too many Rangers in recent years who simply do not do that. Is also said to be a very high character player who is very coachable, a good teammate. He'll drop the gloves to stick up for his teammates. Very high compete level. Again, something else that was lacking on the Rangers this past season. A very good shot. And here's a big one for me too. He'll get to the front of the net. He will park himself in front of the net, or he'll drive to the net. He'll do whatever it does to get there and sacrifice whatever he has to sacrifice to make that happen. I don't think any team in hockey, or there couldn't have been many, did a worse job at creating chaos in front of the opposing net while allowing opponents to do whatever they felt like doing in front of the Ranger net. So Nesbbit sounds like somebody that could kind of flip that in favor of the Rangers. If he ends up being drafted by them. Again, just a hard-nosed, physical player, prides himself on going into the corners and fighting for pucks. I mean, sign me up for somebody like this. And I'll leave you with a couple of scouting reports on Nesbbit. We've got this from Neutral Zone. Jack Nesbbit is a prototypical power forward center with an impressive combination of size, skating ability, and a developing offensive skill set. At 6'4", his frame and reach make him a challenging matchup for opponents, especially when he uses his body to protect the puck rather than exposing the puck, trying to make high-risk plays. And then we've got this from Dominic Tiano of the OHL Writers. Jack Nesbbit is a promising young talent with the potential to make an impact in the NHL. His combination of size, skating ability, hockey IQ, and playmaking skills make him an attractive prospect for teams looking to bolster their center depth. So we'll leave it at that. We'll go ahead and we'll make it official here. We'll draft Jack Nesbbit in the second round, and we'll let this mock draft thing here just kind of go through the motions and get us to our third-round pick, or actually what would be our now second of 2 third-round picks, because in that Kreider trade, of course, the Rangers gave away a 4th-rounder. They also got a 3rd-rounder. So we should have an extra 3rd-round pick this time around in the mock draft, and hopefully we can find somebody that, we need, somebody that can help the Rangers. We are now into the 3rd round, as anybody watching on YouTube can see. And I'm kind of leaning toward a defenseman, but I'm going to see if I can find a good one here to pick up here in the 3rd round. And we are actually going to have our first repeat pick in this mock draft from one that we had in the first mock draft. I'm going to do my best to shake things up and do it a little bit differently this time, but we're going to have at least one repeat here because there's a defenseman available here in the 3rd round that I just like too much to not pick him here, and that's going to be Maxim Agafonov. He is 6'2", 198 pounds. This past season in the MHL, 35 games, 6 goals, 8 assists, also a -2. And he's somebody that seems to be a little bit of a polarizing prospect in this year's draft. He seems to be rising at least a little bit, but his rankings are jumbled. I've got 9 opinions here in front of me. They've got him as high as number 38, which means like early 2nd round, and as low as number 110. So there's a pretty wide range here. With that all said, there's a lot to like here. Now, there's not a ton of like offensive ability or flash or anything like that. Not a ton of offensive upside, at least. But this is somebody who is always on the ice during the big moments of a game, said to be just a very strong shutdown defenseman, can move the puck very well. And again, that's another area where the Rangers were lacking this past season among their defensemen. Very good defensive instincts, good positioning, good mobility overall. Seems to project as like a 2nd or 3rd pair D-man in the NHL. And as much as I would like to find a defenseman who's like, oh man, this dude's going to be an all-star and he's going to be on a top pair for his entire career, we are into the 3rd round here, so that just isn't realistic. Now, that's not to say that none of these defensemen can eventually become that player, but it sounds like what I've gathered from Agafonov is that he's kind of a floor pick as far as like a high upside pick. That's okay, though. We just need solid, steady defensemen. I think that's one of the reasons why Ranger fans took to Will Borgen as quickly as they did, because he just stuck his nose in there and seemed to play mostly blue-collar, hard-nosed hockey. And, we could debate the extension all we want. Was it a year too long or just a little bit too pricey? Maybe it was, but Borgen, for the most part, I think played good hockey for the Rangers and just did a lot of the simple things that this team was lacking from its defensemen from a good portion of this last season. Again, limited upside is one knock on Agafonov, but it sounds like he's somebody that should be able to slot in there on a 2nd or 3rd pair in the NHL and get the job done. And I'll leave you guys, as far as Agafonov is concerned, with some scouting reports. This one comes to us from Daniel G. of Elite Prospects. Agafonov's physical profile as a 6'2" right-hand shot defender is inherently interesting. He could be a bottom pair defender at the NHL level. And then this one comes to us from the Elite Prospects 2025 NHL Draft Guide. Agafonov is a 6'2", right shot, physically mature defenseman who can be relied upon to transport the puck up the ice and fill any role capably. He prevents access to the middle in the neutral zone, using his stature and stick work to force attackers wide, and picks up threats in his zone, taking away sticks, disrupting runs, and shielding the front of the net. Yeah, we need more of that, please. More shielding the front of the net this season for Igor Shesterkin and Jonathan Quick. When retrieving pucks, Agafonov is capable of manipulating forecheckers, using the net to create some separation from them, and even launching the puck under sticks to teammates in space. So with all that said, let's go ahead and make it official here. Let's draft Maxim Agafonov, in the third round with the first of the Rangers' 2 third-round picks, and we'll let this thing just kind of simulate right through up to the next Ranger pick here. As we get to number 80 in the draft, continuing right along here, still the third round. I'm thinking I might take another defenseman with our next pick because, again, not getting any in the first 2 rounds. We might want to get 2 in the middle rounds here, if nothing else. The Rangers, like we've been talking about, do need to restock the cupboard a little bit here. So as far as the defensemen are concerned. So this is actually going to take us into the 4th round. I guess maybe this website wasn't able to update the Rangers now having a 3rd-round pick. Be that as it may, let's just go ahead and continue through this draft here and try to figure out the best types of players for the Rangers to take, whether it's the 3rd round, the 4th round, or anything else. And in fact, we are going to do that in just a second. All right, we just want to take a minute to let everybody know that today's episode of Locked On New York Rangers is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned on the beach. It's easy to use, it's fast to pay out, and it makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. All right, we're going to go ahead and continue right along here with our Locked On New York Rangers mock draft. We are now into round 4 here, and like I said just a second ago, I think the way to go might be to find a defenseman. I'm not going to completely pigeonhole myself to that idea, but that's kind of where I'm leaning right now, and let's see what we can come up with here. But yeah, for the 4th round here, I'm thinking we can go ahead and draft defenseman Sean Barnhill. I was thinking about Maceo Phillips, but he actually went at number 101, and we're picking here in the 4th round at number 104. But honestly, the more I look at it, I think I might like Barnhill just a little bit more than Phillips. I think they'd both be fine picks at this stage in the draft. For Barnhill, he actually, in most draft projections that I'm seeing, is expected to go in the 3rd round. So the fact that he's here in the 4th, that's already kind of a positive as far as the case to be made for taking him. But yeah, Barnhill, 18 years old, defenseman for the Fighting Saints of the USHL. He is also committed to Northeastern University in 2026, 2027. So it will be quite some time before we or anybody else who drafts Barnhill would see him anywhere near the NHL. But I still think it's a solid investment here. I've got 10 different opinions in front of me, different publications and different people that do this for a living. And obviously, rank all these players. Between these 10 different opinions, they have him as high as number 41. That comes to us from Dabber Prospects, and as low as number 91 by Chris Peters. So it's divided quite a bit, but we're actually in this mock draft anyway going to be getting him later than I think most people would have him on the board. Honestly, looking back at it, I might even consider him with a 3rd round pick, and the Rangers do have 2 3rd-round picks now. Be that as it may, he's still here in the 4th round, at least in this one mock draft that we're doing right here. There is another defenseman who I considered here that I also must mention right now, because honestly, if we don't get this defenseman with this pick, Rio Kaiser, then we might take him with our next pick. So there's 2 guys that I was kind of torn between, 2 just absolute giant defensemen here. But as for Barnhill, he has played parts of 2 seasons with the Fighting Saints, like I said, of the USHL. Just 2 games in his first season there. And then this past year, 54 games, 4 goals, 8 assists, and was a +9. Offensive prowess isn't really his strong suit. My understanding is that it is improving a little bit, but this is somebody that's considered, mostly a very physical defenseman and somebody who takes full advantage of his frame. It sounds like his physicality went to a whole new level. It was very good anyway, but it went to a whole new level during his team's 9 playoff games this past season. Typically has good positioning, reads the play very well. His passing and specifically his outlet passing have both improved, and just somebody who has a reputation of being pretty tough to play against. We mentioned his size and his physicality. He uses his stature to win puck battles. Very good penalty killer as well. He can get you some 200-foot clears, can block some shots. And here's an interesting fun fact that I'll throw at you guys. He had the second best horizontal jump at the NHL Combine. Not that you're jumping all that often in hockey, but it still gives you an idea of the kind of athlete that he is. It's obviously still impressive. And if there's ever a situation where he's on the Rangers and they ever need to prevent a clear, hopefully he's on the ice and he can jump up and knock the puck down. But bottom line, I mean, this guy's a giant and very mobile for his size as well. I'll leave you with a couple of scouting reports. With a deep, balanced stance and quick feet, this one comes to us, by the way, from Elite Prospects, okay? With a deep, balanced stance and quick feet, Barnhill denies rushes and then jumps up into the play. He matches the footwork of smaller, high-skill attackers with ease, and he rarely overextends. The skating appears most in his rush defense, where he makes some high-level stops with his feet moving after taking away the middle. And then this one comes to us from Tout Surly Hockey. As mentioned earlier, his progression has been steady, just like his ice time. He has gained more trust from his coaches as the season has progressed, earning more responsibilities in key situations. He has established consistency in his game, building his profile around toughness and effectively clearing his defensive zone. So with all that said, let's go ahead and make it official here and draft Sean Barnhill in the 4th round for the New York Rangers. And we're actually going to go ahead and pick our 3rd consecutive defenseman at this point in the draft, and it's going to be Rio Kaiser, 18-year-old D-man, 6'7", 207 pounds, played for the Peterborough Petes of the OHL, and wanted to just kind of roll the dice a little bit here. This is somebody that does seem to be somewhat polarizing. I've seen him as high as the 3rd round, and I've seen him pretty low on some draft boards as well. In his first and thus far only season with Peterborough, 25 games, 1 goal, 5 assists, and is a -14. But the bottom line, we're getting pretty late in the draft at this point, and this is somebody who I think you want to take a chance with because of that size in and of itself. The Rangers, as we've seen recently, have had a good amount of success when it comes to picking giants late in the draft. And I like that strategy because, as we all know, size doesn't slump, and that's how you end up with guys like Matt Rempe in the 6th round, Adam Edstrom in the 6th round, even Dylan Robrick, I think, has shown some promise with the Hartford Wolfpack. All absolute skyscrapers and all taken late in the draft. So we're going to buck the trend a little bit here by taking a giant defenseman rather than a giant forward, but that's the move at this point. Like I said, we're going to go with Rio Kaiser. He also played for Germany's World Juniors team, played a couple of games for them in the last go-around here. And like I said, we're getting late enough now where the size and the strength combination, that is quite intriguing. So why don't we go ahead and make it official here and go ahead and draft Rio Kaiser to the New York Rangers. And we'll let this simulation do its thing here. At this point, given the fact that we've taken 3 defensemen in a row, I'm probably going to look back for a forward. Wouldn't necessarily rule out taking another D-man, but, I mean, 4 in a row. Does anybody do that? Have the Rangers ever done that? 4 consecutive defensemen? I guess never say never. We'll see who's here when it's our turn to pick again, which it will be in just a couple of minutes here. And anybody, watching this, listening to this, whatever, if you have any opinions on who you'd like to see the Rangers draft or what they should do with that number 12 overall pick, definitely let me know. It's an exciting part of the season here, the offseason rather, heading toward the draft and getting into free agency as well. So with all that said, let's go ahead and try to find somebody that the Rangers can pick now here in the 5th round. We are going to go ahead and select a center. That would be Julius Sumpf of the Moncton Wildcats of the QMJHL. And bottom line, by the time we get to this point in the draft, I'm just kind of looking for anything that gets my attention a little bit. And we do have a pretty interesting combination of size and scoring here. I wouldn't say that he's a giant or anything like that, but he's got pretty good size at 6'2", 194 pounds. He's also a lefty shot. And he's now played 2 seasons with the Wildcats. In his first season, 60 games, 21 goals, 34 assists, 55 points, and was also a plus 10. So flirting with point per game territory here. And then this past season, even better. 58 games, 26 goals, 39 assists, so 65 points in 58 games. He indeed surpasses the point per game plateau there, and was also a plus 61. So good things happen when this kid is on the ice. And like I said, he's got the scoring. He's got, some decent size to go along with it. We're getting to the point where it becomes a little bit of a crapshoot anyway. I think just based on those numbers alone, he's probably too good of a player to be available at this point in the draft. But he's not going to be available anymore because we're going to draft him here at number 148 overall. And we will go ahead and let the draft continue to do its simulation here. Take us into the 6th round. I'm thinking we might get a goalie. The Rangers obviously have had some luck over the years, quite a bit of luck, in fact, with, drafting goalies in the mid rounds, the late rounds, even an undrafted goalie or two in there that have had success as a member of the New York Rangers. But we are now into the 6th round of the draft, and I'm going to go ahead and check out the lay of the land here and see if we want to, draft a goalie as we just discussed. And we are indeed going to go ahead and select a goalie at this stage in the draft here. We are into the 6th round. I'll be honest, I'm kind of torn between two goalies here. I would lean a little bit toward Petteri Rimppinen, but I remember that I took him right around this time in the first mock draft that we did here. So in the interest of just shaking things up a little bit, doing something a little bit different, I'm actually going to go ahead and instead draft Semyon Frolov. We'll go ahead and make that pick right now. And as for Frolov, somebody that has had success wherever he's played, has been in the MHL, a couple of different teams this past season, 5 games with Karelia, Sovetov, Moskva, and he had a 275 goals against average, a 910 save percentage. And then before that, 13 games with MHK, Spartak, Moskva, a 9-2-2 record, 2 shutouts, a 915 save percentage, and a 2.05 goals against average. So you look at his, career stats, and obviously he's still very young. He is just 18 years old, but somebody that's had success pretty much everywhere he's played between the pipes. And we actually do have a scouting report here from Elite Prospects 2025. Frolov is an athletic and quick skater. His game is built on a strong foundation with his pads. He also has a good understanding of how to play at 6'3". He doesn't go down too early, but also seals the ice well at the same time. So like I said, the Rangers have had success late in drafts. When it comes to goalies, we'll take one here, and we'll move on to a little bit later here in the 6th round. Second pick of the 6th round, we're going to go with Jacob Kvasnicka of the University of Minnesota, or rather, he will soon be playing at the University of Minnesota, 2025, 2026 to be exact. So hopefully they can help with his development there. He is a right winger, and he most recently played for the U.S. National Under-18 team, 66 games, 18 goals, 21 assists, +4. He doesn't have the best size ever. I mean, not at all. 5'11", 159 pounds. But he's kind of been lingering here in the draft, and we're getting to the point where I think he is certainly one of the better players remaining. I know we've been emphasizing size and strength and all that good stuff, but we'll buck that trend here late in the 6th round and go ahead and draft him with the number 171 overall pick here. And by my count, that means we've got one pick left. We're going to get into the 7th round here and try to figure out a diamond in the rough. I mean, I don't know if we're going to come up with the next Henrik Lundqvist-esque player in the 7th round, but we're going to do our best here. That is for sure, as this thing continues to go through the simulation. Rimppinen just got taken. That was the other goalie that I like quite a bit. We weren't going to take another goalie at this stage in the game, but somebody that I think could be one of the better late-round goalies if the Rangers do choose to go down that road. And we're getting into the 200s here. And like I said, we got one more pick to make at number 203 overall. And let's see if we can go ahead and find a diamond in the rough at this point. We're going to go ahead and pick Shea Bush, a left winger who is committed to Penn State University for 2025, 2026. And he's got good size, 6'2", 208 pounds, also a lefty shot. He most recently played in the WHL as well as the BCHL in 22 games with the Vernon Vipers of the BCHL, 12 goals and 5 assists. And then with the Everett Silvertips of the WHL, 39 games, 11 goals, 8 assists. So some decent production here, and somebody that's joining a college hockey program that is vastly improving. So we'll go ahead, we'll make it official, and we will draft Shea Bush at number 203 overall to the New York Rangers. So this mock draft here. The simulation will just kind of wrap up. We're out of picks, though, so we can call it there for today. And I just want to thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. It's always a lot of fun doing something a little bit different on here. Obviously, it's challenging going through all these different draft prospects and trying to figure out, who's going to be a steal and who's going to be a late-round sleeper. There's only so much information available, but you guys let me know what you think. I like the draft class that we came up with this time around, but I think I like my first mock draft a little bit better. That one's still available, so if you missed that episode, you want some more stuff on the draft, you can go back and check that out. But we'll call it there. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in, and I will see you next time.